Daniel, I haven't got the yields, but I have got this. I've just downloaded a 97-page report on Italy. I'm out there at the end of this week on the economy and everything. What can you tell me in 2 minutes that City's trying to tell me in 97 pages?
Basically that the challenges to grow the economy are very, very high and continue to be difficult because the non-performing loan weight and the exposure of banks to sovereign debt create this constant problem in, let's say, making the monetary policy of the ECB flow into the economy. I think that also what you have in Italy is, in general, a problem of stagnation that has nothing to do with the new government or with the previous. It's been ongoing for 2 decades. Basically, the Italian economy is very simple. You subsidize low productivity sectors and you tax high productivity sectors. It's a combination of stagnation, and unfortunately that has to change, and it's not in the budget or in the next 4 years.
Had something apparently which came and went. It was called the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. Apparently a lot of the ills were solved.
Yeah. No, not really.
Why are we still in this bog that's Italy?
Well, because it hasn't been solved. What it has been is disguised. No, we have seen with the bailout of Greece, with Italy, with Spain, with Portugal.
Italy never had a bailout.
No. With the bailout of Greece, with Italy, with Spain.
Should Italy have had a bailout?
I don't think that Italy should or Spain should have had a bailout. I think that the first problem was a problem of competitiveness that has never been addressed. It has been addressed through lower yields and through monetary expansion, and it hasn't been taken by governments to improve their fiscal stance. In fact, Italy does have a primary surplus, and Spain is almost at primary surplus. But it's basically because what they have done is to increase taxes and to keep spending more or less where it was. So what we need to do is to change the mentality in the Eurozone. The Eurozone continues to be more focused on keeping government spending at any cost, and it's still keeping companies and families very, very much in a very difficult position.
So the fear is then, as we talk about divergence between the United States and everything else, and an EM crisis that could be unfolding, what happens to some of the weak spots in Europe? Are we right back to where we started, where the market then has a run against the likes of Italy, because whether it's government policies or a budget that can't be balanced, they have a go again. The market tests the resolve of local governments and Mario Draghi.
I think that it is quite unlikely that we will see markets taking aggressive moves with European countries, because if you look at the fiscal balance, for example, considering what the ECB is going to be doing, the net needs of financing of most European countries are actually very small in the next years, because the ECB is going to repurchase what matures. No, therefore, I don't think that we're going to have a debt crisis typical of what we saw in 2011. However, I think that what bond yields are showing is that despite massive liquidity, let's remember that the ECB is now 41% of GDP of the Eurozone, its balance sheet, compared to 22% more or less than 22% of the Fed. What we will have is an environment in which what we have is debt saturation. So we're more likely to see a Japanese stagnation type of outcome rather than a 2011 crisis.
But all these guys have got is a very big hammer which says easy money, liquidity.
Yeah.
If we go into a European recession with near zero interest rates and a QE program on the go, how does the ECB react to the economic crisis? Do we get negative rates? Do we get some other form of exciting monetary policy that we haven't quite conjured with at this stage? Because there is no doubt about it, they will be under pressure to respond and do something, whether Draghi is still there or not.
But the response is not monetary. The response has to be fiscal. The response has to be of governments stopping to think that they're going to go back to 2005. The governments need to think of the future. They need to attract high productivity sectors. They need to attract capital. They need to attract jobs. The Eurozone has double the US unemployment rate, with the balance sheet of the ECB being 41%, double that of the Fed at the same time. So it's not going to be monetary. I mean, the history of negative negative yields is a disaster, because negative yields obviously don't make people take more risk and invest more. Negative yields actually make everybody a lot more aware that there's tremendous manipulation. So that's not going to work.